It's harvest season. I feel like I've been laboring all summer, plowing and sowing, tending my wild oats. You know, I always heard of sowing wild oats as a bachelor thing, but my oat kids are pretty wild. Planning activities, paying for childcare, and now at last the harvest school begins. Now my children are the taxpayers' problem. And little seeds that I've planted, little seeds of taxes, will produce this wonderful harvest with help from others. It takes a village of taxpayers to raise a child. My son Malcolm starts kindergarten. Everyone thinks I'm going to cry. Nope. It's a time of celebration. Planting our boy in the garden of children so that he can grow in a neat little row. I think too much preschool circle time is making him crazy. Summer must end. The writing is on the wall. Literally, since baby William has started writing on all of the walls of our house. And Malcolm got a Lego stuck up his nose. It had to happen sooner or later. Definitely time to let kindergarten teachers deal with this. Sarah learned this summer that nail polish does not double as eyeliner. And I learned that harvested grain, magically fermented into alcohol, can remove nail polish from a terrified little girl's eyelid. Miraculously, she can see. Also miraculous because I didn't have to explain to paramedics why my daughter was blind and my hands smelled like whiskey. My kids spent the summer doing science experiments around the house. William keeps running the same experiment, pouring the dog's water bowl into the kibble bowl. I think he's trying to grow another dog. But if you soak dog kibble in water, what you really end up with is something like a bowl of dog droppings. It's like cutting out the middleman. Look, kid, that's the dog's job. Don't take it away from her. Jackson and Sarah were experimenting too. Add vinegar to baking soda, and you make a volcano. But what if you substitute one or both of those ingredients? What if we mix peanut butter and olive oil? That makes a mess. And if my children had succeeded in creating a peanut butter, olive oil volcano that actually erupted, the whole house would have exploded. I don't get it. We added peanut butter to the olive oil, and now our house is just a pile of rubble. Yeah, because Dad finally erupted. We did activities too. I took the kids camping a couple of times. A bear showed up right in front of us, and it's terrifying because you can't hear them. They just appear 20 feet away. Uncle Michael threw carrots at the bear, but I think that only works with rabbits. The bear did not go away. It took our marshmallows and our graham crackers. Then it took our plastic forks. Now I'm afraid that bears will go extinct from trying to cook s'mores with plastic forks. You'd think a bear would grasp the principle of a stick. But 2019's been disheartening for our bear population. I'm sick of this year. I don't even remember what my New Year's resolution was. I doubt I kept it, and if I did, it did not make any difference in my happiness. I'm tempted to make one retroactively, like just down to the wire. I'm going to say that my 2019 New Year's resolution was to lose energy and gain weight. That way I can feel like I accomplished something. Fortunately, I'm married to someone who can tell me that this is just part of my annual cycle. Elizabeth used to keep a diary of my yearly moods like a science experiment. And now she tells me that I'm always repeating myself. That this is the cycle where I've tried to finish too many projects in August and now I'm exhausted for a while. And I think she's right because I can vaguely remember last September, the one thought that kept running through my head again and again and again all month. I quit, I quit, I quit, I quit, I quit. I don't think it's just me though. Everybody looks tired. Even the calendar has given up on the year. The first 6 months of the year are named after Roman gods and goddesses. Then 2 are named after the emperors, Julius and Augustus Caesar. But at this point, the months are just Roman numbers. September means 7, October is 8, November is 9, December is 10. They're not even the right numbers anymore, because July and August got shoved in the middle. But this, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's like the game was already over, and the Romans were just running out the clock. In old northern Europe, this time of year was the great harvest Thanksgiving. Luftnasad, a festival to celebrate the pagan grain god Lugh, from which we get the word loaf. Lugh was a legendary Irish warrior king, something like King Arthur, who fended off invaders so mightily that a rival king rewarded him with the promise that the land would become so fertile that there would be 4 harvests a year. Lugh actually refused, saying 1 harvest was enough, but demanded instead the knowledge of how to plow the ground and plant the grain. And since they only had to worry about harvesting once a year, Lugh dedicated his free time to inventing games, some Gaelic version of chess, ball games, maybe including soccer, which used to be played with a human head, and horse racing. After a long reign, Lugh's funeral was celebrated with a sort of Irish Olympics, and Luftnasad still retains this combination of harvesting and gaming. The harvest was the merriest time of year in old Britain. For subsistence farmers, it was the big annual payday, and it involved the whole community. Artisans would hire themselves out for reaping. Village maidens would thresh the grains, and when the job was done, everyone would be invited to a big drinking party. Or maybe the drinking started early, which is a little scary when we remember these were people running around waving signs, sickle blades. You can imagine the Grim Reaper. He's scary enough, but at least he's not drunk. An English poet in the 1600s gives us a glimpse of that harvest merriment. Come, sons of summer, by whose toil we are the lords of wine and oil, by whose tough labors and rough hands we rip up first and reap our lands. Crowned with the ears of corn now come, and to the pipe sing harvest home. About the cart, hear how the rout of rural younglings raise the shout, pressing before and some come after, those with a shout and those with laughter. Next to your flails, your fans and fats, then to the maids with wheaten hats. To the rough sickle and crooked side, drink, frolic, boys, till all be blind, and that this pleasure is like rain, not sent for ye to drown your pain, but for to make it spring again. The harvest games involved racing, like the race to see which household plot could reap its fields the fastest. And the last sheaf cut from the last field reaped would be bound up and called the Old Maid, a bad luck charm, the likely origin of our Old Maid card game. Then a boy would be sent on a special mission to throw this doll through the window of some other family's house, and if he was caught, he had to shine the shoes of everyone inside. The rest of the day could be celebrated with other games like building towers of packed fertilizer, planting a flag in the middle, and playing some early version of Capture the Flag. Except what you were really trying to win was some kind of kingdom of fertilizer. We don't celebrate harvests like we used to. Or maybe we do, but now we live the Harvest Festival all year round because it's always harvest time somewhere. And boats and planes and fleets of trucks bring the goods of a harvest anywhere on earth to our grocery store shelves, where a loaf of white bread can be purchased for 99 cents. For our ancestors, that would have been a party in a bag. It used to be that sliced bread was the greatest thing since anything. But now it's old news. Now we want our grains more extreme. We eat our grains in the form of beef. A hamburger costs Amazon rainforest and a few gallons of gasoline. But somehow we can get one for less than $1 any time of the year. It's like we're all on hamburger welfare. Our national cardiac crisis is subsidized by the government. And if you worry about it, you can wash down your burger and worries with a can of beer, a loaf of bread in liquid form. If you look at the President of the United States, he lives on steak and ketchup. That man has never had a salad for dinner before. He sees someone eating lettuce and says, "Go back to Greenland." You want to hear something funny? On Wednesday, I said, I need to lose weight. I think I'm going to go vegetarian for a while. I woke up Thursday morning, and I had already been transformed into a judgmental jerk. Your steaks and hamburgers are killing the environment. My body hadn't even finished digesting my last meat dinner yet, and I was already feeling bloodless and cranky. Vegetarians, if you don't think people should eat meat, stop biting my head off, guys. If you care about cruelty to animals, stop making me feel bad while I'm eating. If you think the creatures should all be harmonious kinfolk, stop looking down at me like you're some god and I'm scum. But now I'm nearing the triple digits in hours since my last meal that had blood in it. And I'm feeling some of that godlike transcendence and judgment too. I'm going to use my newfound powers wisely and fairly by blaming Republicans for everything. I blame Republicans for the heat this summer. I didn't vote for that heat wave. You reap what you sow, the old expression goes. And you know, think about it for a moment. Nobody ever says that when good things are happening. It's always when the bad stuff is happening that you reap what you sow. And I keep feeling like the harvest of 2019 is a lot of garbage. Toxic fear and anger springing up out of the ground from seeds that were sown by our forefathers. And especially by our forefathers refusing to listen to our foremothers or anybody else. Seeds of hate planted long ago keep springing out in bullets, sprayed into crowds. And we say, what happened here? Those are old seeds, and are being watered in new, toxic language. But other seeds are being planted. Good folks are working around the clock, planting and watering seeds of acceptance and compassion and hope. And those seeds can come out of the ground too. My children keep sowing seeds of gray into my hair. And every year the harvest increases until someday I'm going to look like Old Man Winter, distinguished. And when I look like Santa Claus, maybe they'll finally listen to me. Except then they won't believe in Santa anymore. But this morning I came downstairs, it was like Christmas. Except instead of toys emanating out from under a tree, my 5-year-old was actually gathering toys from the living room floor and putting them into a box. It was like a Christmas elf. Making toys disappear. But then that becomes this afternoon's harvest, when young William will harvest all of the toys out of the box again. And then all of his colorful junk will be back on my floor again. And together we keep sowing the seeds of new stories, seeds that will slumber underground for years until my children start dating and bring somebody home. And I get to tell embarrassing stories about their youth, stories that I've been saving for a long time. And when they have their own children and they can call me up and tell me it's hard, and I can tell them stories of their childhood and we can laugh about it. And when this younger generation has grown, I hope that they will bloom from the seeds of our hope, not the brambles planted in this climate of fear. I hope that someday you reap what you sow will be good news, that our kindness and goodness will produce something wholesome and healthy. And not just enriched white flour. I'm talking about something multi-grain. Something that will nourish our fragile species into the future.